My son-in-law took my beloved vintage car to go for a ride and completely wrecked it, he cynically sneered. It's just scrap metal, just like you, old man. I didn't react, didn't yell. I calmly made one phone call. An hour later, he was calling me, begging me to stop, his voice shaking with panic. But it was too late. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is in your region right now. 42 years as a judge taught me to recognize evil. I'd sentenced murderers, thieves, con artists, but nothing prepared me for finding it in my own home on Christmas Eve. December 20th. My wife, Isabel, was in the kitchen preparing dinner, moving slowly since her stroke last year. Our daughter Quinn, my son-in-law Brian, and their girls Bridget and Becca had moved in 6 months ago. Just temporary, Dad, Quinn had promised. That should have been my first warning. I should have known better. Quinn walked into the dining room while I set the table. At 38, she wore designer clothes neither she nor Brian could afford. Her phone never left her hand. Dad, you're doing it wrong. Napkins go on the left. I've been setting tables for 67 years. Just move them. She grabbed my carefully folded napkins and tossed them aside. Mom never does anything right either. It's exhausting fixing everything. Isabel appeared with cranberry sauce, her left hand trembling slightly. The stroke had weakened her entire left side, but she refused to let it stop her from doing what she loved. Quinn, honey, do you want to help? Mom, I'm busy. Can't you see I'm coordinating dinner? Someone has to prevent disaster. Isabel retreated, wounded. I watched something die in her eyes, and something cold settled in my chest. When did my daughter become this cruel stranger? Brian emerged from the basement, where he'd been working for 3 hours, code for video games. My son-in-law slapped my shoulder too hard, his expensive cologne overwhelming. Larry, hope you budgeted for decent wine. The cheap stuff gives me headaches. Same wine we always buy, Brian. Right. Maybe next year we'll upgrade, once the house sells. He winked like we were sharing a joke. I mean, if you decided to sell. This place is worth a fortune. My blood went cold, but I said nothing. The girls thundered past without greeting me. Not even hi, Grandpa. They'd learned that dismissiveness from their parents. Dinner was torture. Isabel had outdone herself. Turkey, 3 kinds of vegetables, homemade rolls. But Quinn immediately criticized, This turkey is dry. Didn't you baste it? Every 20 minutes, dear. While you two sit around being elderly, someone has to be the adult here. I set my fork down carefully, very carefully. Your mother worked hard. Show respect. Respect? Quinn's eyes went cold. Like you showed refusing my business loan or not paying for the girls' private school? Brian joined in, his voice taking on that whiny quality I'd grown to hate. You've got this huge house, retirement savings, but can't help your grandchildren? That's cold, Larry. I wanted to list everything we'd given them. Free housing, paid credit cards twice, school supplies, winter coats. But Isabel squeezed my hand under the table. Don't engage. I excused myself, needing air. The hallway was decorated with photos from happier times. When did we lose them? Then I heard it, a muffled cry from below, from the basement. My heart stopped. I moved silently toward the basement door. 42 years in court taught me to observe unseen. The door was cracked open. Through it, I saw Isabel at the bottom of the stairs, her weak left side making her stumble as she tried to climb. Quinn stood at the top, phone out, filming. Look at her trying to climb, Quinn laughed, like a drunk turtle. Pathetic, Brian added. Maybe she'll learn to mind her business. What did she want? Quinn asked. Caught us going through the safe. Stupid old bat crying about family trust? Brian's voice dripped contempt. Like it won't be ours when they finally kick it. My hands shook. 42 years of dispensing justice, and I'd never felt rage this pure, this white hot. Quinn leaned down. Mom, if you want up, you'll have to beg. Quinn, please, my heart medications. You need to learn your place, old woman. My daughter's voice turned monstrous. This is our house now. You're just taking up space. And if you tell Larry, Brian added, we'll tell everyone you're having another stroke. Confused, delusional. We've already talked to our lawyer about conservatorship. They slammed the door. The lock clicked. I stood frozen. My daughter, the little girl I'd held taught to ride a bike, walked down the aisle, had just locked my disabled wife in a cold basement. threatened her, discussed our deaths like a business transaction. From the dining room, I heard Quinn lie smoothly. She went to lie down. You know how she gets. The girls barely acknowledged it, already back on their phones. 42 years on the bench, I'd seen evil. Sentenced it. But never in my own home, wearing my daughter's face. I moved to the basement door, hands steady despite the inferno inside. I had a spare key, paranoia, after Isabel's stroke. The lock clicked softly. I descended, each step measured, controlled. Isabel huddled in the corner, crying quietly, trying not to make noise. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "Larry, I'm sorry." "Shh." I helped her up, felt her trembling. "We're going upstairs, to the guest room. Stay quiet there. Can you do that?" But Quinn and Brian will think you escaped. Let them wonder. I looked into her frightened eyes. "Do you trust me?" "Always." "Then stay upstairs. Stay quiet. Let me handle this." I settled her in the guest room with medications and water, locked the door from inside. Then I returned downstairs, mind already calculating possibilities. 42 years as a judge. I knew the system. Every loophole, every law, every way to destroy someone who breaks them. The question wasn't if they'd pay. The question was how completely I could dismantle their lives, legally and thoroughly. 10 minutes. That's how long before Quinn realized Isabel wasn't in the basement. I was in my reading chair when I heard her shriek. "Brian, the basement door's open. She's gone." I turned a page slowly. Let them panic. Brian thundered in. "Larry, did you see Isabel? She's not in the basement." I looked up, confused. "The basement? Why would she be there? She can barely manage stairs. We thought maybe she went down for something. During dinner?" I raised an eyebrow, perfected from decades catching witnesses in lies. "That doesn't make sense, Brian." Quinn appeared, face flushed. For the first time, genuine emotion. Fear. "Dad, we need to find Mom. She might be confused, wandering." "My wife is recovering from a stroke, Quinn. She's not senile. But if you're worried, let's search together." The doorbell rang. Our neighbors, Tom and Patricia Chen, holding Christmas pudding. Perfect timing. "Tom, Patricia, come in." Patricia held out the pudding. "We know you're having dinner, but—" "Oh, is everything all right? You look upset, Quinn." Quinn's face transformed instantly. Fear vanished, replaced by perfect concern. "Patricia, I'm so glad you're here. We can't find Mom. She was helping with dinner, and now she's just gone." "Gone?" Tom looked worried. "Have you called—" "We're searching now," Brian interrupted. "Larry, check the garage. Patricia, could you look in the kitchen?" I watched them orchestrate the search. Quinn wringing hands. Brian organizing urgently. Masterful performance. Sociopathic, but masterful. "I'll check upstairs. Isabel sometimes rests in the guest room when overwhelmed." "Good idea, Dad." Quinn's false warmth dripped. "We'll search down here." I climbed slowly, knocked on the guest room door, slipped inside. Isabel sat on the bed, eyes red. Are they looking for me? Very dramatically. Our daughter has quite a talent for deception. What are we going to do? Right now? Nothing. We let them search. We let them worry. Then you're going to wake up from a nap, confused about why everyone's upset. I don't understand. You will. When you go downstairs, pretend nothing happened. You came up for a nap. Don't remember anything about the basement. You want me to lie? I want you to survive. What they said, conservatorship, our deaths, this house being theirs. We need time to figure out what they've done. You think it's more than tonight? I know it is. The bank account Quinn helped with that we can't access. Documents Brian had me sign. Your misplaced medications. This isn't impulsive. It's calculated. Isabel went pale. If they convince people I'm incompetent, they control everything. But they made a mistake tonight. They showed their hand too early. Now I know what I'm dealing with. What are you going to do? 42 years watching people destroy themselves through greed. I'd sentenced them. But I'd always been bound by rules, procedure. I wasn't bound anymore. Document everything, every conversation, every lie, every threat. Then use the law, the same law I upheld my entire career, to make them face consequences. Larry, their family, no. Harder than intended. Family doesn't lock disabled women in basements. Whatever they are, they stopped being family when they chose greed over love. Downstairs, Quinn's manufactured panic rose. We should call the police. She could be anywhere. Isabel stood, smoothing her dress. How do I look? Like someone who just woke from a nap. She managed a weak smile. Then let's convince them I'm confused. We descended together. The Chens saw us first. Isabel, thank goodness. Patricia rushed over. Worried? Why? Isabel blinked. I came upstairs for a rest. The cooking tired me. Did I miss something? Quinn's face cycled emotions. Relief, anger, frustration, hidden beneath concern. Mom, we thought you were lost. We searched everywhere. Lost? In my own home? Don't be silly. Brian's eyes narrowed, calculating. He knew something was off. Good. Let him wonder. The Chens left, satisfied. Quinn and Brian retreated to their basement apartment. I was grateful for the separate entrance. Room to think. After the girls slept, I sat in my study with a legal pad. At the top, document, investigate, prosecute. I listed everything suspicious from 6 months. Bank account, documents, medications, security system, estate planning interest. Each seemed minor alone. Together, a pattern. Quinn appeared. I flipped the pad face down. Dad, can we talk? Of course. I gestured to the chair where hundreds had sat, explaining legal troubles. What's on your mind? I wanted to apologize for earlier, at dinner. I was stressed, took it out on you and Mom. That wasn't fair. Smooth apology, practiced. But her eyes watched me, measured my reaction, looked for weakness. Strategy, not remorse. We all have bad days. Family means forgiving those moments. Exactly, she leaned forward. That's why I want to help you and Mom more. What if Brian and I took over managing your finances? Just to take the stress off you both. You've worked so hard. You deserve to relax. There it was, the opening move. She actually thought I'd fall for it after tonight. That's thoughtful, Quinn. Let me discuss it with your mother. Of course, no rush. She kissed my cheek, lips cold, and left. I waited until her footsteps faded, flipped the pad back. Under document, 12/20/24, Quinn requests financial control, claims altruistic motives. Timing, same evening as basement incident. Pattern, isolate, control, replace. Not about money alone. Power, control, systematic dismantling of inconvenient obstacles to wealth they felt entitled to. Isabel appeared. I heard her. The apology. Hollow as a drum. What now? Now? I looked at my wife of 43 years. Now we stop being victims. Stop being weak, confused obstacles. Now we remind them who they're dealing with. And who is that? I smiled. Not kind. The smile I'd worn in courtrooms before delivering life-changing sentences. A judge who spent 42 years learning every legal way to destroy lawbreakers. And Quinn and Brian? They just broke so many laws, I'll need a second legal pad to list them all. Isabel placed her hand on my shoulder. I'm scared. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. I covered her hand. But don't be too scared. This time the law isn't abstract. It's personal, and I'm very good at what I do. Outside, snow began to fall, coating Portland in white. Inside, I began planning the most important case of my career. Not as a judge, as a father who'd seen his daughter's true face. You wanted the house, Quinn? You wanted our money? You wanted us gone? Careful what you wish for. In my courtroom now, justice always wins. December 21st, Quinn and Brian left for Christmas shopping, likely spending money they'd stolen. I watched their SUV disappear, then settled into my study with my legal pad and coffee. Time to reconstruct the crime. September, Quinn had shown up, all concern. Dad, I'm worried about your finances. What if something happens and you can't access your accounts? Let me help you set up a joint account for emergencies. It had seemed caring. Isabel was upstairs recovering from her stroke. Quinn had filled out the paperwork while I signed where she pointed. I wrote, September 18th, joint account opened. Quinn primary holder. Discovery. Cannot access funds without her approval. I'd learned that 2 weeks ago trying to buy Isabel's medications. The teller looked embarrassed. This account requires dual authorization for withdrawals over $50. $50. They'd left me $50 of my own money. The account held $38,000, my entire retirement bonus. My hand tightened around the pen. Keep documenting. October. Brian had cornered me in the garage with papers. Larry, I've got a tax guy who can save you a fortune. Just needs signatures. The deadline's today. I'd been changing oil, hands covered in grease. Let me read them. Standard stuff. My guy's waiting. You trust me, right? Family? That weapon. Family. I'd signed without reading. I wrote. October 12th. Signed tax documents from Brian. Never received copies. Never saw again. Contents unknown. What had I actually signed? Power of attorney, property transfers, then Isabel's medications. November, she'd gotten weaker, more confused. Quinn had been helping with her pills. Isabel, did you take your blood pressure medication? Quinn said I didn't need it today. Too many pills were making me confused. I checked the bottles. Several prescriptions, missing doses. Her blood thinner, critical after the stroke, barely touched. I wrote, November ongoing. Quinn controlling medications. Creating appearance of incompetence for conservatorship. The pattern was clear. Isolate, control, undermine, make us appear incapable of managing our lives. My phone buzzed. Quinn, getting the girls' clothes. Need another 200? Venmo me? The audacity. I typed back, use the joint account. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. Then, that's for emergencies, Dad. Don't be difficult. Don't be difficult. I set the phone down and continued writing. Every manipulation. Every time Brian borrowed tools and never returned them. Every time Quinn rearranged our furniture, changed our routines, made decisions as if this were already her house. The basement wasn't an aberration. It was escalation of systematic abuse, building for months. Isabel appeared, moving slowly with her cane. What are you doing? Building a case. Do you remember when Quinn started helping with medications? Early November. She said I was confused about dosages. Isabel's face crumpled. Was I? Am I losing my mind? No, you're being manipulated. Quinn deliberately interfered with your medications to make you appear incompetent. Why would she? She stopped. We both knew why. How much did we tell them this house is worth? You finally told Brian. 1.5 million. 1.5 million. Enough to justify fraud. Enough to justify locking your mother in a basement. I returned to my pad. The pattern extended beyond finances and medications. Quinn had been cutting us off from friends. The Hendersons called. They're exhausting. I told them you weren't feeling well. Book club? You look tired, Dad. Maybe rest instead. One by one, our connections severed. No witnesses. No one to notice if we became incapacitated. It was textbook elder abuse. I'd seen it in cases before, sentenced people for exactly this. Never imagined I'd be the victim. The front door opened. We're back. Dad, where are you? I closed my pad, slipped it into the drawer. In here. Quinn appeared, shopping bags in hand, smile bright. Best day. Got the girls adorable outfits? Picked up wine for dinner? How much did you spend? Her smile flickered. Why does it matter? It's Christmas. Or are you going to be difficult? There it was. Difficult. Problem. Burden. Training me to accept their narrative. Just curious about how my money is being spent. Your money? Sharp laugh. We're family. What's yours is ours. That's how it works. Or did you forget when you decided I had to be selfish about your grandchildren? Masterful gaslighting. Turn it around. Make me the villain. Of course. Family. She studied me, suspicious, then shrugged. Dinner's at 6. Try to be pleasant. The girls were upset by your attitude yesterday. She left. I pulled out my pad, added, December 21st. Quinn displays zero remorse. Expects continued access. Believes she has complete control. But she didn't. Not anymore. I knew exactly what I was dealing with. 23 days until Christmas. 23 days to build an unbreakable case. They thought I was a confused old man. They were about to learn what a judge with 42 years' experience could do when he decided to prosecute. December 22nd, 9 a.m. The doorbell rang. I answered to find a young man in work clothes holding a toolbox. Mr. Kingston, Sam Warren. Your daughter called about a security system? Come in. I led him inside. Quinn appeared, phone in hand. Sam's making sure you're safe, she announced. With you two getting older, we need proper security. Right, Dad? Safe from what? I suspected the real purpose. More cameras to monitor us, document our supposed incompetence. Very thoughtful. Sam, what are you installing? Motion sensors, few cameras, standard package. He seemed uncomfortable with Quinn hovering. She disappeared upstairs. I brought Sam coffee as he worked. Thanks, Mr. Kingston. Most clients don't bother. I appreciate competence when I see it. Been doing this long? 5 years, mostly residential. Portland's growing. Everyone wants security. We chatted while he positioned a camera mount. Then casually, actually, I think I've seen your daughter before. A few weeks ago downtown, at the notary office on 5th Street. I was doing an install next door. My pulse quickened. I kept my voice neutral. Quinn? At a notary? Yeah, with her husband and... He paused, looking confused. Huh? There was a third person. Guy looked just like you. Same height, same build. I almost waved, but realized it wasn't you. Moved differently. Walked with his shoulders forward. Ice flooded my veins. When was this? Maybe 3 weeks ago? Mid-November? He laughed. Weird coincidence, right? Very weird. Did you hear what they were discussing? Not much. I was outside. But when they came out, I was loading my van. Your daughter and her husband were pretty loud. She said something like, once the old folks are gone, we'll flip this place for 1.5 easy. My hand shook. I set down my coffee mug. Figured she meant an investment property. Sam continued, none of my business. Should I put a camera in the basement? Your daughter mentioned valuables down there. No, basement's fine, just main floors. Someone who looked exactly like me, at a notary office, with Quinn and Brian, 3 weeks ago, they'd hired an impersonator, hired someone to forge my signature on legal documents. Not just financial abuse, criminal fraud, forgery, identity theft. Sam, that notary office, do you remember which one? Phillips and Associates, I think. Yeah, definitely Phillips. Phillips. Youngston Phillips, my old colleague. 15 years working together before he started his practice. He'd know my signature anywhere, unless Quinn and Brian went to a different notary in the building, someone who didn't know me. Thanks, Sam, that's helpful. He looked puzzled. Everything okay? Just connecting dots. Part of getting old, seeing patterns everywhere. He smiled and returned to work. I headed to my study, pulling out my phone. I needed to call Youngston, but not from the house. Dad? Quinn's voice from the stairs. Who are you calling? I slipped the phone back. No one. Checking messages. She descended slowly, eyes sharp. Sam seems chatty. What were you talking about? Installation details, camera angles, boring stuff. She studied me. You seem distracted lately. Maybe we should see your doctor. Check for early signs of dementia, of incompetence, building her narrative right in front of me. I feel fine, Quinn. Sharp as ever. That's what everyone says before declining. Mom's stroke came from nowhere, too. These things run in families. False concern dripped from her voice. I just want you taken care of, Dad, before it's too late. Before I could fight back, before I could stop them. I appreciate your concern, but I'm perfectly capable. Of course you are. She patted my arm like I was a child. We'll keep an eye on things. Family takes care of family. After she left, I stood processing. They weren't just stealing. They were constructing a legal framework to justify it. Medical incompetence, financial confusion, the need for protective intervention. Brilliant in a sociopathic way. Create the appearance of decline, then swoop in as concerned children taking control for our own good. By the time anyone questioned it, they'd have power of attorney, conservatorship, everything, and if we protested, more evidence of our confused, paranoid state. I returned to my study. December 22nd. Sam Warren witnessed Quinn Bryan with my impersonator at Notary November. Overheard conversation about selling house for 1.5. Once old folks gone. Quinn now suggesting medical incompetence. Systematic fraud with long-term planning. I needed proof. Court-admissible proof. Sam's testimony would help, but I needed more. Those forged documents. The full scope. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Kingston, this is Sam Warren. Got your number from the work order. Sorry if out of line, but something felt off. If you need anything, witness statement, whatever, happy to help. My dad got scammed by his caretaker. I know the signs. An unexpected ally. Someone who saw through the facade. I texted back, Thank you, Sam. I may take you up on that. What you told me was very valuable. Immediate response. Those people aren't right. The way your daughter talked when she booked this job, I almost didn't take it. Trust your gut. I deleted the messages, cleared history. Paranoid? Maybe. But paranoia kept me alive. Quinn and Brian thought they'd been careful. They'd underestimated one critical factor. I'd spent 42 years watching criminals make mistakes. I knew every tell, every pattern, every overconfidence leading to exposure. First error, showing their hand with the basement incident. Second, hiring Sam Warren, who had personal elder abuse experience. Third, being careless enough to discuss plans where witnesses could hear. How many more errors? How many more pieces of evidence waiting to be discovered? 3 days until Christmas. 3 days to gather proof, build my case, prepare my strike. They wanted me to look incompetent, confused, perfect. Let them think their plan was working. The best trap is one the prey walks into willingly, convinced they're the predator. I'd spent 4 decades setting courtroom traps. This would be my masterpiece. December 23rd, early morning, I told Quinn I was going to the pharmacy for my blood pressure medication. She barely looked up from her phone. Instead, I drove to 5th Street downtown to the building Sam had mentioned. Phillips and Associates, 3rd floor. I took the elevator up, watching each floor number light like a countdown to truth. The reception area was modest. A young woman at the desk smiled. "Can I help you?" "I'd like to see Youngston Phillips. Tell him Larry Kingston is here." Her eyes widened slightly. Recognition. "Mr. Kingston, of course. One moment." 30 seconds later, Youngston emerged from his office. At 58, he'd aged better than me. Less courtroom stress, more golf. But his handshake was firm, his eyes sharp as ever. "Larry, this is unexpected. Come in." His office overlooked the street, walls lined with law books and certificates. We'd worked together for 15 years before he'd left the courthouse to start his notary practice. If anyone could help me navigate this nightmare, it was Youngston. "I need your help," I said, sitting, "and I need your discretion. You have both. What's wrong?" I pulled out my legal pad, pages filled with notes. 3 weeks ago, someone came to this building and signed documents using my name. Documents giving my daughter power of attorney over my finances and property. Youngston's face went pale. "Larry, I know you didn't. You'd have spotted the fake immediately. But there are other notaries in this building." He nodded slowly. "Henderson on the 2nd floor, Martinez on the 1st. What exactly are we talking about?" "Identity fraud, an impersonator. My daughter and son-in-law hired someone to pose as me." I watched his expression shift from shock to professional focus. "I need to see those documents. I need to know exactly what they signed in my name." "This is serious, Larry. Criminal serious. I know. I've been documenting everything for 3 days. I tapped my notepad. Financial manipulation, elder abuse, medication interference, and now forgery. I'm building a case, Youngston, but I need proof." He stood, pacing. "Give me an hour. I'll check with Henderson and Martinez quietly. If documents were notarized in your name, I'll get copies." "Thank you." "Larry, if what you're saying is true, your daughter is looking at serious prison time. 5 to 10 years for this level of fraud in Oregon." "I know." My voice was flat. "And she deserves every minute of it." I left his office and walked to a coffee shop across the street, ordered black coffee I didn't want, sat by the window where I could see the building entrance, waited. My phone buzzed. "Quinn, where are you? You've been gone for an hour." I typed back, "Pharmacy was busy, getting lunch while I'm out." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, no response. Good, let her wonder. 45 minutes later, Youngston texted, "Come back up, you need to see this." His face when I entered told me everything. He'd found something bad. Martinez's office. He spread documents across his desk. Notarized November 18th, 3 weeks ago, exactly like your source said. My hands shook as I picked up the first page. Power of attorney, granting Quinn Kingston Dennison complete authority over my financial affairs, property decisions, and medical care. Signed Lawrence Kingston in handwriting that looked similar to mine but wasn't quite right. The loops too large, the pressure too even. "The impersonator practiced," Youngston said quietly. "Good forgery, but not perfect. Look at the driver's license photo Martinez photocopied." The man in the photo looked like me from a distance. Same age, same build, same gray hair. But the eyes were wrong, too close together, and the driver's license itself was fake. Wrong hologram pattern for Oregon. Martinez is 73, semi-retired, Youngston explained. Takes simple notarizations to supplement his pension. He probably glanced at the ID for 2 seconds. Never suspected professional fraud. The second document was worse. A pre-signed sale agreement for my house, dated February 15th, 2025. Price, $1.5 million. Seller, Lawrence Kingston. Buyer, TBD. All proceeds to be held in escrow account, controlled by Quinn Kingston Dennison. They were going to sell my house 2 months from now, I said, voice hollow, while I was still alive, still living in it. The third document. Youngston slid it over. This one scares me most. Application for emergency conservatorship. Filed with the county pending review. Grounds, Lawrence Kingston, age 67, shows signs of advanced cognitive decline, financial incompetence, and danger to self and others. Requires immediate protective intervention. Quinn had signed this one personally, her real signature, her real intent. Documented proof she was planning to have me declared legally incompetent. Look at the timeline, Youngston said, pulling up his calendar. November 18th, they forge the power of attorney. December 15th, they file for conservatorship. If granted by January 15th, they'd have complete control. They could put you in a facility, sell your house, access all your accounts. All perfectly legal because you'd be declared incompetent. And Isabel? Spouse of incompetent person. She'd have no standing to challenge it, especially with her stroke history. They'd claim she's as confused as you are. Everything clicked into place. The medication interference, making Isabel appear weak and confused. The isolation from friends, eliminating potential witnesses. The gaslighting training us to accept our own supposed incompetence. This wasn't just theft. It was a complete legal takeover, planned months in advance. I need copies of everything, I said. Every document, every photo, every filing. Already done. He handed me a thick manila envelope. Larry, you need to move fast. The conservatorship hearing is scheduled for January 10th. If you don't challenge this before then, I will. I'm meeting with an attorney tomorrow. Good. You'll also need these. He pulled out additional papers. Affidavit from Martinez stating he notarized these documents. Verification that the ID was fake. Timeline documentation. Everything you need to prove fraud in court. I stood, envelope in hand, feeling its weight. Evidence. Real, documented evidence. Thank you, Youngston. I won't forget this. One more thing. His voice stopped me at the door. Be careful, Larry. People who plan this level of fraud don't stop when caught. They escalate. Your daughter is capable of this. He gestured at the documents, which means she's capable of worse. I thought about the basement, the locked door, the casual cruelty, the conversation Sam had overheard about waiting for the old folks to die. I know, I said. That's why I'm not confronting them yet. I'm gathering evidence, building an unbreakable case. When I strike, it'll be swift and complete. Like the old days in court. Exactly like the old days. Christmas Day, December 25th, the day I realized my daughter planned my murder. Morning started with Quinn's fake cheer. Merry Christmas, Dad! The girls are so excited. Bridget, 14, barely glanced from her phone. Becca, 11, ignored us completely. Brian appeared in an expensive sweater I recognized. I'd bought it last year, never worn it. He'd taken it from my closet. Merry Christmas, Larry. Isabel, looking good. He looked at Isabel like she was furniture. Presents were performative. Quinn bought the girls expensive electronics with my money. Brian gave me a cheap golf accessory, drugstore bag, price tag still on. $8.99. I know how much you love golf. I hadn't played in 15 years. He knew that. Another small humiliation. Dinner at 4. Isabel cooked, despite my protests. Turkey, stuffing, traditional sides. Hours of work. Quinn took one bite, grimaced. Mom, did you forget to season this? Completely bland. I followed the same recipe. Maybe that's the problem. Same old recipes from someone who can't taste anymore. Quinn poured salt over everything. There. Fixed it. Isabel's face crumpled. I took her hand under the table. The turkey is perfect, I said firmly. Sure, Dad. Quinn's smile was poison. Though you're having trouble cutting it. Want me to cut your meat, like we do for the girls? Bridget snickered. Becca laughed. Neither understood they were mocking their grandfather's supposed senility. I cut my turkey slowly, deliberately. I can manage. Brian leaned back. So Larry, Quinn, and I have been talking. Time for a serious conversation about the future. You two aren't getting younger. Senior living options. We're living in our home, Isabel said quietly. We're fine. Are you, though? Quinn's voice sharpened. Mom, you can barely walk. Dad forgets things constantly. Last week, he didn't remember what day it was. A lie. I'd asked once if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. She'd twisted it into evidence of decline. I'm 67, not 90, I said. I'm entitled to occasional confusion. It's more than occasional, Brian said. You need help. Real help. Quinn and I want to step in before something bad happens. Before something bad happens. The irony suffocated me. We're managing fine, I said. For now. Quinn cleared plates aggressively. But what happens when Mom has another stroke and you forget to call 911? Or leave the stove on and burn the house down? Creating scenarios. Building narrative. Painting us as dangerous. After dinner, Quinn and Brian retreated to the kitchen. The girls disappeared with electronics. Isabel went to rest, exhausted. I moved toward the kitchen quietly. Quinn's voice carried. So tired of waiting. This is taking forever. Patience, Brian. The documents go into effect mid-January. 6 more weeks. 6 weeks too many. Quinn's frustration was palpable. I'm about ready to just put something in their evening tea and be done with it. They're old, sick, nobody would question it. My blood turned to ice, poisoning us, casually, like discussing breakfast. Don't be stupid, Brian's warning. That's how people get caught. We stick to the plan. January 15th, conservatorship goes through. We move them to a facility. They'll be declared incompetent. We'll have full control, and nature takes its course. Nature takes its course? Quinn laughed bitterly. They could live 10 years. I'm not waiting. You won't have to. Those places aren't focused on keeping people healthy. Little neglect here, missed medication there, stress from the move, meaningful pause. I give them 6 months. Max, once institutionalized, all natural. And if someone questions it, who'll question it? We're concerned children who tried everything. We have documentation, medical reports, legal conservatorship. We're the heroes, Quinn sighed. Fine. But if they make it to January, we're accelerating. I want my money, my house, them gone. You'll get all 3. Just be patient. I backed away silently, each word branded into memory. Not just theft, not just fraud. Murder. Planned, premeditated murder, disguised as concerned care. I returned to my study, hands shaking. December 25th, 7:30 p.m. Overheard Brian. Quinn suggested poisoning. Brian outlined plan, conservatorship. January 15th, forced institutionalization. Death through neglect within 6 months. This is conspiracy to commit murder. My daughter, little girl I'd taught to ride a bike, whose nightmares I'd chased away, was planning my death, and she was stupid enough to discuss it where I could hear. I should call police. But what did I have? An overheard conversation. No recording, just my word against theirs. And they'd call me confused, paranoid, delusional? No. I needed ironclad proof, witnesses, documentation, a case so airtight no jury could ignore it. Tomorrow I'd call Ruth Pearson, the attorney Youngston recommended. Family law specialist, elder abuse experience. She'd know how to proceed. The conservatorship hearing was January 10th. 15 days to build my case, gather evidence, strike first. 15 days to save our lives. Isabel appeared, pale and shaking. Larry, I don't feel well. Quinn gave me my evening medications, but I feel strange. Fear spiked. I took the pill bottle, read the label. Wrong dosage. Twice what she should take. Did you take these? Not yet. Something felt off. I pocketed the pills. Don't take anything Quinn gives you. Nothing. I handle all medications now. Larry, what's happening? I pulled her close, felt her trembling. We're in danger. Real danger. But I'm going to protect us. I promise. Outside, snow fell. Inside, my daughter and her husband celebrated Christmas, drinking wine bought with my money in a house they planned to steal, discussing deaths of the people who'd given them everything. But they'd made a critical error. They'd underestimated the man they were destroying. I wasn't a confused old victim. I was a judge who'd spent 42 years prosecuting criminals, and I knew exactly how to build a case that would destroy them completely. Merry Christmas, Quinn. Enjoy it. It's your last as a free woman. December 26th, the day I started fighting back, I called Ruth Pearson at 8 a.m., an attorney I'd worked with years ago, sharp, relentless, specialized in family law and fraud. If anyone could help, it was Ruth. Larry Kingston, she answered, surprised. It's been what, 3 years? 4. Ruth, I need your help, and I need it yesterday. Come to my office. 1 hour. Her practice was downtown, 20th floor. Ruth was 52, steel gray hair, eyes that missed nothing. She gestured me to a chair. Talk to me. I laid out everything. The basement incident, financial manipulation, forged documents, the Christmas conversation about poisoning. I showed her my notes, Youngston's evidence, my timeline. Ruth's expression shifted from interest to shock to cold fury. They discussed poisoning you on Christmas. In my kitchen, while eating food my wife cooked. Larry, this is beyond elder abuse. This is conspiracy to commit murder combined with identity theft. Fraud. Forgery. She pulled out a legal pad. We need to move fast. Conservatorship hearing is January 10th? 15 days. Then we file first, today. Emergency injunction to freeze all accounts they control. Void the forged power of attorney. Block the conservatorship petition. She was already writing. We'll also report to Adult Protective Services and the DA. Criminal charges. How strong is our case? With what you have. Ironclad. The forged documents, witness testimony from Sam Warren, the fake ID Martinez photographed, prosecutable fraud. Add the Christmas conversation, and we're looking at serious prison time. Good? Ruth looked up. Larry, are you prepared? Your daughter could go to prison 5 to 10 years. Your son-in-law, too. Your grandchildren will know. My daughter locked my wife in a basement, discussed my murder over Christmas dinner, forged my signature to steal my house. I met Ruth's eyes. She stopped being my daughter when she decided greed mattered more than family. Now she's just a criminal who needs consequences. Ruth nodded. Then let's destroy them legally and completely. We spent 6 hours building the case. Ruth drafted emergency motions, prepared affidavits, compiled evidence. She called a private investigator, Marcus Webb, former FBI. Marcus, she said on speaker, I need you to find an actor. Male, late 60s, hired through a Portland agency in November. He impersonated my client at a notary's office. Give me 2 days, Marcus said. If he's local, I'll find him. 2 days. December 28th. Still time before New Year's. What about surveillance? Ruth asked. You mentioned cameras? Installed them 2 years ago after Isabel's stroke. Wanted to monitor for falls. They don't know. Hidden in smoke detectors, bookshelves, motion activated. Do you have footage of the basement incident? No. Cameras don't cover the basement, but I have footage of every conversation in the living room, kitchen, dining room for 6 months. Ruth's eyes lit up. Everything Quinn and Brian said? Everything. Get me those recordings. All of them. I drove home, downloaded 6 months onto external drives. Hours of Quinn's cruelty, Brian's contempt, systematic gaslighting. Quinn was in the kitchen, on her phone. Where were you all day? Doctor's appointment. Without telling me? Dad, you can't just wander off. What if you got confused? The gaslighting was automatic, reflexive. I'm fine, Quinn. Sure you are. That's why you forgot what day it was. That's why you can't access your bank account. I wanted to tell her I knew everything, but Ruth had been clear. Don't tip them off. You're right, I said, defeat in my voice. I've been having trouble. Her smile was triumphant. That's why Brian and I are here. To help. To help. Like they'd helped with Isabel's medications, my bank access, our social connections. I appreciate that, I lied. December 27th. Marcus Webb called. Found your actor. Richard Calloway, 68, works through Faces Agency. Last November, hired for what he thought was a legal reenactment for a documentary. He'll testify? More. Once I explained he'd been used in identity fraud, he volunteered everything, recorded statement. He's terrified of becoming an accessory. Can we trust him? Completely? He's got paperwork, contract, payment records, texts from the client. It's all there. Ruth incorporated Richard's statement into our filings. The case was coming together perfectly, each piece of evidence supporting the next. December 28th, Ruth called. Everything's ready. We file tomorrow morning. Court will review and issue emergency orders by December 30th. That gives us 10 days before their conservatorship hearing, which will be canceled once the judge sees our evidence. And criminal investigation? Meeting with DA Ellen Morrison tomorrow afternoon. She's tough on elder abuse. She'll fast-track this. Ruth, thank you. Larry, I've known you 15 years. You were one of the best judges I ever argued before. Fair, thorough, impossible to fool. If you say your daughter tried to steal your life, I believe you, and I'm going to make sure she pays. That night, Quinn and Brian went to a party, leaving the girls. Bridget and Becca retreated to their rooms immediately. No good night, no acknowledgement. Isabel sat beside me. Is it really happening? Are we fighting back? Yes. Tomorrow, Ruth files everything. By Monday, accounts will be frozen. They'll be furious. Let them. Fury makes people careless. Larry, what if they hurt us? Before the court stops them? Fair question. Cornered criminals were dangerous. Quinn had discussed poisoning. Starting tonight, I said quietly, we don't eat or drink anything they prepare. We keep our bedroom locked. We're careful. For a few more days, until the law protects us. I'm scared. Me too. But I'm angrier than I am scared, and anger is powerful. Through the window, snow fell, coating Portland in white. Inside, the girls upstairs, music loud, oblivious to the coming storm. Quinn and Brian thought they'd won, thought they'd checkmated us. They'd forgotten one crucial detail. I'd spent 42 years studying how criminals think, how they make mistakes, how to build cases that destroy them. Tomorrow, the counterattack began. Tomorrow, they'd learn what it meant to threaten a judge. December 30th, 9:47 a.m., Ruth called. It's done. Emergency orders signed. All accounts frozen effective immediately. Conservatorship hearing canceled. Preliminary criminal investigation opened. How long until Quinn finds out? She probably already knows. Banks move fast. 15 minutes later, Quinn stormed in, Brian behind her, her face red, eyes wild. What did you do? She screamed. The bank blocked my cards. They said there's a court order. I stood slowly from my chair. Let the moment build. I protected myself and your mother from fraud. Fraud? Fraud? I'm trying to help you. You're confused, incompetent, and I'm trying to save you. No, Quinn. You're trying to steal my house and kill me through neglect. There's a difference. Silence. Her face cycled through shock, rage, calculation. Brian stepped forward, trying intimidation. Larry, you don't know what you're talking about. You're confused. This is exactly why we need conservatorship. I have recordings. Christmas Day, kitchen. Put something in their evening tea. 6 months, max, once they're institutionalized. Want me to play them? Brian went pale. Quinn's mouth opened, closed. You recorded us. That's illegal. Oregon is one-party consent. My house, my recordings. Completely legal, and very incriminating. I handed them the court documents. Watched Quinn's hands shake. Emergency injunction, forged power of attorney, identity theft, elder financial abuse, criminal investigation. You hired an actor to impersonate me, I continued. November 18th, Martinez Notary Services. He's given a full statement. The fake ID was photographed. Your plan is documented. Brian grabbed the papers, scanning desperately. His bluster evaporated. You can't prove. Steal $1.5 million while planning my death? Yes, I can. And now you face consequences. Quinn's face transformed. The mask shattered. Pure venom emerged. You selfish old man. After everything we've done for you, we moved in, took care of you, put our lives on hold. You moved in because you were broke and saw an opportunity. You controlled my finances so I couldn't stop you. You manipulated Isabel's medications. You forged my signature. These aren't interpretations. These are facts. Documented. Witnessed. Provable. I'm your daughter. My daughter died the day she locked her mother in a basement. You're just a criminal wearing her face. She stumbled back like I'd hit her. Brian caught her arm. You'll regret this, he snarled. We have lawyers. We'll prove you're incompetent, making this up because you're senile and paranoid. Then explain the actor, and the forged signatures, and the fake ID, and the notary's testimony, and the recordings. I let each point land. Good luck with that defense. You have 48 hours to vacate, I said. Court order. If you're still here January 1st, the sheriff removes you. This is our home, Quinn shouted. The girl's home. You can't throw us out. It's my home, my deed, my property. You were guests who became criminals. Now you're trespassers with an eviction notice. Brian's face went red. We'll make your life miserable. Every moment we're here. Threaten me? I pulled out my phone, started recording. Please continue. My attorney would love more evidence. He deflated. Quinn tried tears. Face crumpling. Voice breaking. Daddy, please. I made mistakes, but I'm your little girl. Remember when I was small? We were so close. I love you. We can fix this. You discussed poisoning my tea. You planned my death. There's no fixing that. Only consequences. The tears vanished. The mask shattered completely. Fine. Fine. We'll leave. But you'll regret this. When you're old and alone and dying with nobody who cares, remember you did this. No, I said quietly. You chose this. I'm just making sure you face what you earned. They left. I heard them upstairs, shouting, throwing things. The girls asking what happened. Quinn screaming about ungrateful grandparents. Doors slamming. Chaos. Isabel appeared from the kitchen, pale. Is it really over? Not yet. They have 2 days to leave. Then criminal trial. Then civil suits to recover stolen money. But the worst is over. We're safe. What you said to her? My daughter died that day. Did you mean it? I thought about the little girl who used to hold my hand, who'd bring me dandelions and call them flowers, who'd fall asleep on my shoulder. That girl is gone, I said. I don't know when she died. Maybe gradually, maybe all at once. But the woman upstairs isn't her, and I won't pretend she is. Through the ceiling, Quinn and Brian argued, packed, made calls. Probably to lawyers, though no lawyer could save them. The evidence was too strong. My phone buzzed. Ruth? D.A. Morrison fast-tracking. Arrest warrants within a week. Formal charges. Identity theft, forgery, fraud, elder financial abuse, conspiracy. Combined at 8 to 10 years minimum. I texted back. Good. Isabel cried quietly, leaning against me. Not sad tears. Relief tears. We're really safe, she whispered. We're really safe. Outside, night fell. Inside, chaos reigned upstairs as Quinn and Brian faced destruction of their plans. I'd spent my career believing in justice, in law as a tool to protect the innocent and punish the guilty. But some people don't change. Some choose cruelty over kindness, greed over love. Quinn had made her choice. Now she'd live with mine. Tomorrow, my daughter and her husband would begin paying for their crimes. January 1st, 2025. New Year's Day. The deadline passed. Quinn and Brian were still here. I called the sheriff's office at 8:01 a.m. This is Lawrence Kingston. I have a court-ordered eviction that expired at midnight. The occupants refused to vacate. The deputy arrived at 10 a.m. Quinn met him at the door, all tears and confusion. Officer, there's been a mistake. This is a family matter. My father is elderly, confused. The deputy handed her the court order. Ma'am, you have 1 hour to remove yourself and your belongings. If you're still here at 11, you'll be arrested for trespassing. Her face went white. You can't be serious. We have children. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, ma'am. 1 hour. They left at 10:52, loading suitcases with furious energy. Bridget and Becca crying. Quinn shooting me looks of pure hatred. Brian swearing under his breath. I watched from the window. Isabel beside me. Said nothing. Just watched. At 10:58, Quinn came back. One last attempt. Dad, please. Think about what you're doing. We're family. We can fix this. I'm not destroying family, I said quietly. I'm removing criminals from my property. There's a difference. The girls will remember this. They'll remember their grandfather threw them out. Is that your legacy? No. My legacy is teaching them that actions have consequences. That crime doesn't pay. That justice matters. Quinn's face twisted with rage. You'll rot alone, you miserable old man. Better alone than surrounded by people planning my murder. I closed the door. January 8th. The courtroom. Ruth had prepared me. The formal eviction hearing, the presentation of evidence. Judge Sarah Chen presided. Mid-50s. Tough, but fair. Ruth presented methodically. Each piece of evidence building on the last. Your Honor, The defendants engaged in systematic elder abuse spanning 6 months. Exhibit A. Financial records showing unauthorized access. Exhibit B. Forged power of attorney. Exhibit C. Testimony from notary Martinez confirming impersonation fraud. Exhibit D. Recorded statement from actor Richard Calloway. She played the Christmas recording. Quinn's voice, cold and clear, put something in their evening tea. Judge Chen's expression hardened. Ruth continued. Exhibit E. 6 months of video surveillance showing verbal abuse, medication manipulation, systematic gaslighting. Exhibit F. Medical records showing Isabel Kingston's medications were being withheld. Gerald Hutchins, Quinn's lawyer, tried to object, claimed entrapment, argued Quinn was helping confused elderly parents. Each objection fell flat against the mountain of evidence. Judge Chen called a recess. When she returned, her face was set. I've reviewed all evidence. The scope and premeditation of this fraud is staggering. She looked directly at Quinn and Brian. You didn't just steal money. You orchestrated a scheme to legally steal your parents' home, control their lives, and potentially cause their deaths through neglect. Quinn tried to speak. Your Honor, you'll have your chance in criminal court. This is about eviction and asset recovery. Judge Chen turned to her clerk. I'm ruling in favor of the plaintiff on all counts. Immediate eviction upheld. All funds must be returned within 30 days. Criminal investigation to proceed. Additionally, I'm forwarding this to the DA with a recommendation for maximum prosecution. She looked at Quinn again. In 42 years on the bench, I've seen many types of fraud. This is one of the most calculated and cruel. You targeted your own parents. You planned their deaths. The law will hold you accountable. The gavel fell. Quinn collapsed into sobs. Brian sat stunned, ashen. Their lawyer looked defeated. Deputies escorted them out. As Quinn passed, she looked at me one last time. The hatred was there, but underneath, something else. Fear. The realization that this was real, that her carefully constructed life was over. Outside the courtroom, Bridget and Becca waited with a woman I didn't recognize, Brian's sister, taking temporary custody. The girls looked at me with confusion and anger. Grandpa made Mommy cry, Becca said. No, honey, the aunt said quietly, glancing at me. Your mommy made choices. Bad choices. Now she has to face them. Isabel and I drove home in silence. When we pulled into our driveway, our house, finally ours again, she started crying. It's really over, she said. We're safe. We're safe. That evening, Ruth called with final numbers. Quinn and Brian took $82,000 from your accounts over 6 months. They'll repay every cent, plus legal fees. Total damages. Approximately $115,000. Will we see it? Eventually. After criminal trial. After they serve their time. It might take years, but yes. Years. They'd be in prison for years. Quinn, my daughter, the little girl who used to bring me drawings. I looked at the photo on our mantel. Quinn at age 5, gap-toothed smile, holding my hand at the zoo. When had that child disappeared? Larry? Isabel's voice pulled me back. What are you thinking? That I did the right thing. That justice matters. That the law worked exactly as it should. No regrets? I thought about Quinn crying in court, about Bridget and Becca displaced, about the family I'd lost. No, I said finally. No regrets. They made their choices. I made mine, and I'd make them again. Outside, Portland was cold and dark. Inside, our home was warm and safe and ours again. Justice had been served. The law had protected us. The system had worked. And tomorrow, the next phase would begin. The criminal trial that would ensure Quinn and Brian paid for every crime they'd committed. January 15th, 2 weeks after eviction, the DA filed formal charges. Ruth read them over the phone. Identity theft, forgery, financial fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted theft of property. Combined sentencing guidelines, 8 to 12 years. When's the trial? February 20th. They're pleading not guilty. Full trial. Jury selection, testimony, the whole process. Are you prepared to testify? I've been preparing my entire life. The weeks passed in strange normalcy. Isabel and I reclaimed our home, our routines, our peace. Changed the locks. cleaned out Quinn's old room, donated her things, erased the physical evidence of her presence, but some things couldn't be erased. The memory of her voice discussing my murder, the knowledge that my own child had been capable of such cruelty. February 15th, 5 days before trial, Quinn called from a number I didn't recognize. Dad, her voice was small, broken. Please, I need to talk to you. We have nothing to discuss. I'm begging you. Drop the charges. Tell the DA you forgive me. I'll pay back the money. I'll apologize. Anything. Please don't send me to prison. You discussed poisoning me, Quinn. You planned my death. There's no apology for that. I was angry. I said things I didn't mean. You said them multiple times. You planned them methodically. You hired an actor, forged documents, manipulated medications. That's not stress. That's calculated cruelty. I'm your daughter. My daughter died the day she locked her mother in a basement. You're just a criminal wearing her face. Silence. Then, I hope you're happy. You destroyed your own family. You destroyed this family the moment you chose money over love. I'm just making sure you pay for it. I hung up, blocked the number. February 20th, the trial. The courtroom was packed. Ruth presented our case with surgical precision. Every piece of evidence, every witness, every recording. Richard Calloway testified about the impersonation. Sam Warren described the overheard conversation. Youngston Phillips explained the forged documents. I testified for 3 hours, walked through every incident, every manipulation, every threat. Gerald Hutchins tried to make me seem vindictive. Mr. Kingston, isn't it true you and your daughter had a contentious relationship? No. I disapproved of her criminal choices. There's a difference. But you admit you're angry with her? I'm not angry. I'm disappointed, and determined to ensure justice is served. The jury heard the Christmas recording, heard Quinn discussing poisoning, heard Brian planning our deaths through neglect. I watched the jurors' faces, saw shock, disgust, anger. The trial lasted 4 days. On February 24th, the jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. Quinn sobbed. Brian sat frozen. Sentencing was set for March 15th. March 15th, sentencing day. Judge Chen reviewed the case. The defendants engaged in one of the most egregious cases of elder abuse I've encountered. They didn't just steal money. They planned murder disguised as care. She looked at Quinn. Ms. Kingston Dennison, you targeted your own parents. You locked your disabled mother in a basement. You discussed poisoning your father. The cruelty is incomprehensible. Quinn tried to speak. Judge Chen raised a hand. Nothing you say will change this sentence. You will serve 10 years in state prison, followed by 5 years probation. Mr. Dennison will serve 8 years. You will both pay full restitution of $115,000, plus court costs. The gavel fell. Final. Absolute. Deputies led them away. Quinn looked back once. I met her eyes. Felt nothing. Just cold certainty that justice had been done. March 20th. Quinn's last day before prison transport. She was allowed to collect remaining items from storage. She came to the door. I opened it, but didn't invite her in. 5 minutes, I said, to get your boxes. That's all. She looked older, thinner, broken. Dad, please. I'm your daughter. I know I did terrible things, but I'm still your little girl. Tell me you forgive me. Tell me you still love me. I looked at this stranger wearing my daughter's face, thought about the little girl with the gap-toothed smile, thought about the woman who'd locked Isabel in a basement. My daughter died the day she locked her mother in a basement, I said quietly. You're just a criminal who looks like her. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. How can you be so cold? I spent 42 years learning to separate emotion from justice, to judge actions, not intentions. You committed crimes. Now you pay the price. That's not cold. That's fair. You really feel nothing for me? I feel sad for the daughter I lost, but she's gone, and you killed her. Quinn stood there, tears streaming, waiting for me to crack, to soften, to relent. I didn't. Finally, she turned away, got her boxes, left. I closed the door, locked it, turned to Isabel waiting in the hallway. It's done, I said. How do you feel? Certain that we did the right thing, that justice was served, that the law worked. Isabel hugged me. We stood there in our home, truly ours again, in silence. Through the window, I watched Quinn's car disappear down the street, taking her to whatever future she'd created for herself. I'd spent my life believing in justice, in the law as a tool to protect good people and punish bad ones. Today proved I'd been right. The system had worked. The innocent were protected. The guilty were punished. And if Quinn someday truly understood what she'd lost, what she'd destroyed, what she'd chosen, then maybe someday she'd become something other than a criminal wearing my daughter's face. But that was her journey, not mine. I closed the curtains, took Isabel's hand, and walked back into our home. Justice had been served, and I was finally at peace. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you.